Hey there. You know how we always think of Harley-Davidson and we picture like that big V-twin engine,
Yeah.
that rumble? Well, get ready for a surprise because today
Oh, yeah.
we are diving into the world of electric motorcycles.
Okay.
Specifically, we're talking about the Harley-Davidson LiveWire One.
Interesting.
We're looking at this article. It's from a popular motorcycle website,
Okay.
and it brings up some really interesting points about the future of motorcycles.
Like what?
Like, is this Harley just trying to stay relevant? Or is this a sign of things to come?
Hmm.
For motorcycles in general, you know?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is Harley-Davidson is trying to aim this bike at two different kinds of riders. You got the loyal Harley fans who love that cruiser experience,
Right.
but also like a new generation of riders who are curious about EVs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a bold move, trying to bridge those two worlds.
Yeah, how do they actually pull that off? I mean,
Hmm.
the article goes into some pretty impressive specs for the LiveWire one.
Oh, okay.
The battery, for example, is 15.4 kilowatt-hours,
Okay.
which might not mean much to a lot of people, but it translates to a pretty solid range,
Okay.
especially if you're riding mostly in the city.
I see.
We're talking 146 miles on a single charge,
Wow.
just in the city,
Hmm.
which, I mean, that's more than enough for most commutes.
For sure, yeah. And then for those longer rides, like on the weekend maybe, it's got 95 miles
Yeah.
of range in mixed conditions, you know?
That's not bad.
That's something that people might not realize about electric motorcycles. It's not just for short trips anymore.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And it's not just range either. This article talks about the performance too. This thing's got a motor.
Okay.
It puts out 101 horsepower
Wow.
and 84 pound-feet of torque.
That's a lot.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
That torque, it's instant.
Oh, wow.
No waiting for the engine to rev up or anything.
Right.
You just twist the throttle and it's immediate power.
That's a total game changer for like the riding experience, you know?
Yeah.
Imagine smooth acceleration, silent. Just the hum of the electric motor. It's completely different
Yeah.
than a gas-powered motorcycle.
Right. And the article, they use words to describe it like smooth, responsive,
Yeah.
fast, which honestly, you don't really hear those words associated with Harleys usually.
No, not really.
And you know what? Thinking about that seamless acceleration, that might actually make it easier for, for newer riders,
That's a good point, yeah.
because you don't have to worry about shifting gears.
Right, no clutch.
It's just pure power.
That's cool. And speaking of making things easier, let's talk about charging for a second.
Okay.
One thing that stands out about this bike is it's got fast charging.
Oh, okay.
The article says it can go from 0 to 80% charge
Oh,
in
wow.
40 minutes on a level 3DC fast charger.
40 minutes, that's barely enough time to grab a cup of coffee.
I know, right?
But okay, so what about those of us who don't have access to a fancy charger?
Mhm.
What's the home charging situation like?
Yeah, so the article says a full charge at home takes about 10 to 12 hours.
Okay.
So it's not as fast as those public chargers, but it's perfect for overnight, you know? You
Yeah.
wake up, you got a full tank.
Right, so you're trading like the quick fill up at the gas station for the convenience of just charging at home overnight. It's different, but I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, and as EV infrastructure keeps growing, those fast charging options are going to be more and more accessible.
Oh, for sure.
So longer trips are going to be much easier.
Right. Okay, so we've got decent range, we've got impressive performance,
Yeah.
we've got pretty convenient charging options, it sounds like.
Right.
But how does the LiveWire One stack up against other electric motorcycles on the market?
Oh, that's a good question.
The article had this comparison table,
Okay.
and it's comparing it to two competitors,
Mm.
the Zero SRF
Okay.
and the Energica Eva Rebel. It's like a showdown of the electric motorcycle titans.
I like it. So the Zero SRF, it's known for its long range, even more torque than the LiveWire one,
Really?
but it takes longer to charge. So if you're the kind of rider who prioritizes those long rides and you don't mind waiting a little longer to charge up, the Zero might be more appealing.
So the Zero's like the marathon runner of the group.
Yeah, I like that.
What about the Energica Eva Rebel? What makes it stand out?
The Eva Rebel, that's like the powerhouse. So the most power and torque out of all three of them,
Really?
making it a real beast on the open road, but comes with a higher price tag. And it's probably less agile in city traffic compared to the LiveWire.
So it sounds like the LiveWire one is kind of like the Goldilocks of the group,
Yeah,
finding that sweet spot.
right in the middle.
Yeah, for a lot of riders.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like Harley-Davidson is aiming to appeal to a lot of different riders, offering something that's both familiar but also new and exciting.
Yeah, it does feel like they're trying to redefine what a Harley can even be.
Totally.
But let's move beyond like just the specs for a second.
Okay.
And talk about what it's actually like to ride this thing.
Right.
The experience.
Yeah.
This article, it mentions that, there's no engine noise.
Right.
It's just the hum of the electric motor.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how different that must feel.
Oh, it's a huge shift. I mean, think about it. For decades, that sound, that rumble, that V-twin engine, that's like Harley-Davidson.
Right.
It's part of the whole appeal, that feeling of power. But now with this LiveWire, you're getting a completely different kind of sensory input.
Yeah.
It's like a whole other dimension of riding.
The article actually uses the term, some writers describe it as like almost Zen-like.
Oh, wow.
Which is not something I ever thought I would hear.
Not a typical Harley word.
Yeah, used to describe a Harley, but it makes sense.
It does.
You're not being like bombarded by that engine noise.
Right.
You can really kind of be more tuned in with the road and like the wind, the surroundings.
You're more in the moment.
It's almost like mindfulness.
Yeah.
But like on two wheels.
Yeah. I like that. And, that lack of noise, it's not just about the rider.
Right.
It affects everyone around you, too.
Right.
You're not disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
When you're riding through neighborhoods or like the scenic areas, it's a much more subtle presence.
It's a good point. It's like you're not disrupting. You're more like integrating into the environment.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the rider's perspective here.
Okay.
The article talks about how that instant torque actually changes how the bike handles.
Oh, interesting.
It's supposed to be both easier for beginners, but also like even more exhilarating for experienced riders.
Huh. Okay.
How does that work?
So with a regular motorcycle, you've got the clutch, you've got gears.
Right.
You have to manage that to control the power.
Yeah.
But with an electric motor, it's all instant. So for a new rider, that can feel much smoother and less intimidating because they don't have to worry about stalling or fumbling with the gears.
Yeah.
They can really focus on the bike and the road.
Right. Just getting comfortable.
Exactly.
But you said it's also more exhilarating.
Yes.
For experienced riders.
For experienced riders, yeah. It's like, think of it this way.
Okay.
With a gas engine, you have to build up to that peak power.
Right.
There's a delay.
Yeah.
But with electric, it's like, boom, instant.
Oh, I see.
You get that full force right away.
Wow.
Which, if you're used to that gradual
Right.
combustion engine, can be quite a rush.
It's like the best of both worlds almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to handle for new riders, but still exciting for like seasoned riders.
Totally.
I'm starting to see why they're saying this is a bike for everyone.
Yeah.
But I got to admit, as someone who's always loved that like classic Harley rumble,
Yeah.
part of me wonders if this is like the beginning of the end for that sound.
That's the question a lot of people are asking.
Oh.
The article kind of hints at that, too.
Yeah.
It calls it a significant shift for Harley-Davidson.
Wow.
It's hard to say for sure what the future holds, but it's clear that the motorcycle industry is at a turning point.
Yeah.
Electric bikes are becoming more and more viable.
Yeah.
Harley's taking it seriously.
It really makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like, will we get to a point where that iconic rumble is just a memory?
Right.
Or will there always be a place for those, classic gas-powered Harleys? I don't think anyone has the answer to that just yet.
No.
But one thing's for sure, the LiveWire One is definitely challenging what we think Harley-Davidson can be.
It really is.
It's pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
The technology, the riding experience.
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. And it's not just Harley-Davidson either.
Right.
We're seeing more and more motorcycle companies embracing this electric technology.
For sure.
It feels like a whole new era is unfolding.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to another point
Okay.
that the article brings up.
Yeah.
The LiveWire One's warranty.
Oh, right.
This is something I think a lot of people are going to be curious about.
For sure.
Because electric vehicles are still pretty new, relatively.
Yeah.
There's always that question of like, well, how long is this thing going to last?
Exactly, yeah. What about the battery and all those components?
Yeah, like what happens if you have to replace the battery a couple years down the line?
Right.
That could be expensive.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
It sounds like Harley-Davidson is trying to like address those concerns head on, though.
They are, yeah. The article points out that the LiveWire One, it comes with a 5-year warranty.
Oh, wow.
On the battery and the drivetrain.
Okay.
That's a big deal. It shows they're confident in their technology.
Yeah. 5 years is a good amount of time.
It is.
It definitely gives you a little bit more peace of mind.
For sure.
You're not just buying a bike.
Yeah.
You're buying into a company that's standing behind it.
Absolutely.
So with that kind of warranty, easing those worries, I mean, it makes you wonder, is this like a whole new era for Harley-Davidson?
And maybe for the whole motorcycle industry, too.
Yeah, it's a big statement, you know?
Yeah.
Saying, hey, we're not just clinging to the past, we're moving forward.
Right.
It's a bold move.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Definitely.
But I think for now, we've covered a lot.
We have, yeah.
This deep dive. We went from those basic specs to what it feels like to ride this thing.
Yeah.
We talked about the competition. We even talked about like what it all means for the whole motorcycle industry.
I think what's really interesting is how this one bike has created so much discussion.
Right.
It's really touched a nerve.
Yeah.
For people who are excited about electric motorcycles, and for those who aren't so sure about it.
That's what makes this whole thing so interesting. It's not just about like the specs of the motorcycle.
Right.
It's about like a whole cultural shift.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Makes you wonder what it means for everyone listening, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you've never even thought about an electric motorcycle.
Right.
Or maybe you're like a huge Harley fan and you can't imagine riding anything that doesn't have that rumble.
Right, rumble.
But no matter what, I think this shows that the motorcycle world is changing.
It really is. We're at a point where technology and everything is just coming together, and the result is these motorcycles that are like high performance, sustainable, and they still have a bit of that, you know, that rebellious spirit.
Right, that Harley's known for.
Exactly, yeah.
And that might be what brings in new riders, you know? People who wouldn't have thought about a Harley before.
Right, totally.
It's like they're taking that Harley legacy, adding in all this modern tech, and you get something that feels both like familiar but also completely new.
Yeah, I think for people who aren't so sure about this whole electric thing, it's good to remember that change can be good.
Right.
It's about pushing boundaries, trying new things.
Yeah.
Maybe even like discovering a new side of yourself as a rider.
That's a good point.
Who knows? Maybe that silent power, that instant acceleration will win over even the biggest skeptics.
I like that. Well said.
Yeah.
So we went from specs to what it feels like to ride an electric Harley.
Yeah.
We talked about the whole motorcycle industry.
We did.
If you want to learn even more about this whole electric motorcycle thing, you should check out the article.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have a link in the show notes.
It's got even more details, and who knows, maybe it'll make you think of even more questions.
But before we wrap up, let's leave you with something to think about. The article mentioned that Harley wants this bike to appeal to both, you know, longtime riders and people who are totally new to motorcycles.
Yeah, that's a bold move.
Yeah.
Makes you think they see this bike as more than just a one-off.
Yeah.
It's like they're redefining what a Harley can even be.
It makes you wonder, is this a whole new chapter for Harley-Davidson? Could we see a day when there are more electric Harleys than gas-powered ones?
It's possible. As battery tech gets better and charging stations are everywhere, it'll be easier and easier to go electric.
And don't forget about like the environmental side of it too.
Yeah, that's a big one.
With climate change and all that, it seems like electric vehicles are going to be more and more important.
For sure. People are realizing we need sustainable ways to get around.
Yeah.
And electric motorcycles, especially for cities.
Yeah.
They're a great option.
So what does it all mean for you? Well, it means the motorcycle world is changing right in front of us.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're a pro or just starting out, electric motorcycles are here to stay.
Absolutely. They're powerful. They've got all this cool tech. They're better for the environment, and they're changing how we think about motorcycles.
That's it for today's deep dive.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We talked about a lot.
We did.
The LiveWire One, the future of motorcycles, everything.
Remember, the more you know about how things are changing,
the
better choices you can make.
So stay safe, keep your mind open, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.